Here it is. I denounce violence, regardless of ideological motivation. Have I lost you yet? Do you need your attorney? I denounce anyone from the left, the right, or the middle who believes physical violence is the answer to whatever they feel is wrong with our country. I know it's getting dicey. Next, I denounce those who wish to tear down our system and rebuild it in their own image, whatever image that may be. Oh, it's so controversial. I denounce those from the left, the right, or the middle who call for riots and violence as an opportunity to bring down and reconstruct our system. That's a trick there, because that sounds almost like the last one. You sensing the trap yet? Yeah, me neither. I denounce violent threats and calls for the destruction of our system, regardless of their underlying ideology, whether they come from the Hutari militia or Francis Fox Piven. I hold those responsible for the violent responsible for the violence. I denounce those who attempt to blame political opponents for the acts of madmen. I denounce those from the left, the right, or the middle that see violence as a viable alternative to our long-established system of change made within the constraints of our constitutional republic. I almost had him on that crazy talk. Now, some people who haven't signed this, which is almost 500 of them, said, well, I'm still reading it. How much time do you need? You're a slow reader. You're going to have a hard time in Congress because the bills are. Then they said, some of them, oh, I haven't had a chance to look it over. Okay, all right, give you more time. Haven't had time to look it over. That actually is really good news because, I mean, you wouldn't want Congress passing anything without reading it over, right? I mean, they'd never do that, would they? You can never be too careful. Who knows what could be lurking in the hearts of a Glenn Beck non-violence pledge? There might be a box to check that would sign them up for a free email newsletter from Victoria's Secrets or Fredericks of Hollywood. Or maybe make them a fan of my Facebook page. You never know. Congress conducts really, really important business, and they cannot afford to make any mistakes. That's why they are so meticulous, so surgical on every bill, every pledge, every word they say. You bet. They never leave a stone unturned. They read the bill.
I love these members that get up and say, read the bill. What good is reading the bill if it's 1,000 pages and you don't have 2 days and 2 lawyers to find out what it means after you read the bill?
We called his office. He doesn't need 2 days or lawyers or anything. It's this long. The nearly 1,000-page health care bill, he didn't have a problem with. No, he could do it. He could do it. Here's the financial reform bill. That was good. You read the bill. The stimulus bill, totally cool with. The TARP bill. This is a page turner. Can I tell you something? I read it last night for the 3rd time. The idea of TARP was proposed on September 20th, and it was signed into law on October 3rd. But this, no, I need more time. Can I tell you something? It might as well be in Chinese, which, in the end, Congress, might be better if you just write all of this in Chinese, because they'll eventually be running our country anyway. It'd be easier for them. Now, the other explanation that we're giving for not signing this nonviolence pledge is the trap. The trap. I am so stupid in my insidious genius that it amazes me that I can even tie my shoes while I put Skylab back into space. The names on the pledge, the infamous trap, the Hutari militia, and Francis Fox Piven. Who didn't see this one coming? Yeah, well, Congress, many members were not sure about those 2 names. So the rigorous congressional fact-checking process was springing into action the minute it was sent in. You wouldn't want to actually denounce somebody you actually disagree with. For instance, the Hutari militia. Let's look at the Hutaris for just a minute. Right now, I know you're saying the Hutari militia. I'm on the fence because who knows? It might be your friendly local neighborhood militia with a spooky name. According to the DOJ, they formed and began training circa 2008. Okay, well, maybe I don't believe the DOJ. Their name means Christian warrior. Okay, I'm for Christian warriors. Onward, Christian soldiers, warriors, what's the difference? The FBI considers them a radical extremist group. Okay, but let's say I don't trust the FBI. Well, okay. Their enemies include government, state and local, and police officers. Uh-oh, sensing trouble. They plan to kill members of law enforcement in a number of ways. Do I need to give you the ways? Okay, they plan on killing police officers after routine traffic stops, or at their homes, or, I love this one, Hutari say, let's ambush police officers in rural communities. And then, if that doesn't work, we'll call 911 and make false 911 calls, and then when the cops show up, we'll kill them. And then after killing the officer, they want to ambush the funeral motorcades of the officer with weapons of mass destruction. I mean, who could possibly go out on a limb and condemn them? I mean, what are you, just anti-Hutari all of a sudden? Oh, by the way, after they do all that, they just plan to meet at rallying points and wage war using IEDs, ambushes, and other fighting positions. But really, aren't the Hutari just dogpiling now? Really? No problem signing the health care bill. But the Hutaris, oh, I don't know. I sense and smell a trap. Well, we better think this one over. I mean, I could see why you're hesitant. You know, they might also rescue puppy dogs and donate their time to soup kitchens as long as there's not a cop there. I'm not sure. Or maybe it's Congress. Maybe the Hutaris are a very important 501c3 and a lot of fundraising is done by the cop killers. The Hutari militia. Really, they make the Westboro Baptist dopes look like they're only followers of the devil and not the devil himself. And that's what's holding up the signature? Well, it's either the Hutaris or the other very controversial name on the nonviolent pledge. Yeah. Remember, when I say you have to be against violence from the so-called left or the so-called right, violence is bad from either side. So the Hutaris, or maybe it's this woman, Frances Fox Piven. She's 78. She looks sweet, doesn't she? I mean, you wouldn't definitely wouldn't want to rush to judgment on her. I mean, sure, it's true that she has half a century of non-wavering, consistent messages of collapsing our system through violent riots and uprisings. But she's 78. You never know. Maybe she's going to have a change of heart tomorrow and break out the knitting at any moment. She might start baking cookies and bring the grandkids in around and talk about anti-violence. Boy, wouldn't that be embarrassing if you signed the pledge, right? That could happen. She's 78. Clock is ticking. Piven has called for riots. Now, this is a long, long time ago, 3 weeks ago. So, I mean, okay, 3 weeks ago. Do you even remember how old you were 3 weeks ago? She wrote, quote, "So where are the angry crowds, the demonstrations, the sit-ins, and the unruly mobs? After all, the injustice is apparent." Well, Grandma, thank you for checking in. She also said we should be more like Greece and London. Well, I like Greece and London. Oh, except now. An effective movement of the unemployed will have to look something like the strikes and the riots that have spread across Greece in the response to the austerity measures forced by the Greek government on the European Union. Or like the student protests that recently spread with lightning speed all across England. Well, let me see. Let me give you a recap here. You see these behind there? We got the cities burning. Do we have it? There it is, cities burning. Isn't that great? That's Greece. Here they are there, Greece. Oh, wow. It's almost like they're the Hutari. They're taking it out on the police. Well, I'm not against that with the Hutaris. Why would I be against it here? Now, here's Greece. At least 42 people have been arrested, 100 people injured, 3 people have died. Oh, and they took the finance minister and they almost beat him to death in the streets. So I can see why Grandma Frances Fox Piven would be saying we should be more like this. In the London student riots, which she she brought up 3 weeks ago. 50,000 people took to the streets. More than 150 people were arrested in just one day. Here they are. Do we have the picture of them in the car? This is so great. Oh, they're beating the police just like the Hutaris. Here's the prince and Camilla in the car as they're going by, and people are trying to break into the car and kill them. They're only shouting, "Off with their heads." But that's it, and only 12 police officers were injured in that incident. So, Frances Fox Piven, that was 3 weeks ago. Has she cooked any cookies for the grandkids yet? I can see why that would give you pause to sign something that says, I am against things like this where they're shouting "off with their heads" and they mean it. So, by the way, Frances Fox Piven, her husband, whatever, they worked together on Cloward and Piven. And that was a strategy to end poverty, and it was inspired here by the riots. Meaning they could collapse the system and have a revolution if they could just get people hooked on welfare, then take it away, like an austerity movement, and then people would just start setting things on fire and kill cops. Wouldn't that be great? That was her inspiration. Tough decision, Congress. Take a stand against violence or go with the Hutaris who want to kill cops and against Frances Fox Piven, who just want to blow things up, kill cops, and have violent riots. I don't know which one to pick. I'm going to make it easy on Congress, really easy. So maybe they can fast track it like they do with all the other 1,000+ page bills. I'll show you how we're going to fast track that next.